fine by me because it's all I know.
Yeah.
Well, you deserve better, son.
Hello, YouTube. This is our weekly live recording of our podcast. As usual, we will not be engaging with the chat during our podcast, but feel free to talk and chat in the chat. And at the end, if there's something worth addressing or discussing with, we'll talk about it. But otherwise, we'll see you at the end.
For a second, I thought you were going to throw out the otherwise shut up. No, I was just kidding.
No, I like that better. Otherwise, shut up, chat. All right. Hello and welcome to the Nerdosphere. I'm one of your hosts, Clayton, joined as always by my neighbor Wilson, Corbin.
Well, howdy, neighbor. How are you doing?
Hey, good to see you over the fence post this evening.
Yeah, over the soundproof fence posts. For those who are watching, my soundproof phone finally came in the mail. I haven't decided what I want to do with it yet, so I took 5 pieces, made a rudimentary cube, and gravity is what's holding it together right now. It could crumble at any moment. So, but hey, cheers to sounding 3% better.
Yeah. We also tonight have some trouble. Make it double. It's Jesse, not James, just Jesse.
You remembered this week. Fantastic.
I did, yes. Welcome back, Jesse.
I just have to say that I'm sitting here looking at Corbin making his makeshift rudimentary box, and I just love the fact that he's talking over the soundproof box instead of into it, which is completely negating the fact of the sound.
No, I'm talking. My head is pointed at the mic right now. What are you talking about? Should my head be inside the box?
It
yeah,
should,
just like that. Yeah,
it's actually that's.
But then
the box that you so the professional version of the box you tried to make, that's your head's supposed to be in there.
But then I'm too close to the mic.
See, that went from like 3% better to at least 15% better audio quality.
Yeah, at least 15.
But I'm too close to the mic now. I'm too close.
You just have to control your volume.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I know.
Or just talk over the soundproofing again. That works too.
Well, we have Jesse with us tonight again because, unlike last week where Tim was feeling under the weather, this week he's out of town on vacation with his family. So Jesse hopped on to give us a third voice because we like to have 3 people. And for those who have been around long enough to know that the podcast used to be just me and Corbin, you know, we kind of need somebody else.
Clayton and I have the same opinions on a lot of things. And we realized having someone like Tim, at least, allows us to all argue about something that we all love. Whereas before, Clayton and I would together be like, and then this happened. And then one would be like, yes. But did you know this happened? And the other one would be like, haha, here. Yes.
Yeah.
But a third person
indeed.
allows a yip, yip, nay, nay to be heard.
A yip, yip, nay, nay.
Yeah, I have a feeling we don't agree on a lot of stuff as well.
Oh, you don't agree with us on anything, Jesse. You don't like Star Wars for starters.
I was getting ready to say, just the sheer fact that you don't like Star Wars is like, what?
I did hear, I think, something recently that David
Filoni.
David what?
David
Filoni.
Okay, I was like, Feige's not right, but they're going to like start. They're going to try to ignore the sequel movies.
There's been no official confirmation on such things, but I wouldn't be surprised if Filoni and Favreau were like, meh.
That's a rumor that's been going around for quite some time.
Okay.
And the theory is, in Rebels, it was introduced that the Force, or at least this one temple, has access to what is essentially time travel in the Force. So if you like, you go through like this portal in a temple, and it's like this infinite weave of different points in time. And that's actually how Ahsoka survives her encounter with Darth Vader. Is Ezra, the main character from Rebels, finds that point in time as he's wandering this void in between time and pulls her out right as she was getting ready to die. So the theory is, because of the way Mando is going right now, it doesn't seem like they're setting up the sequel movies, because there's a lot that needs to happen in between, like where Mando's at and where the movies start, for it all to like jive, especially in regards to Luke as a character. So the idea is that they're going to use this time travel to somehow reset or change or avoid the new sequels. But as far as I can tell, there's no legitimate or official confirmation or talk. It's all just kind of hearsay at this point. So
yeah,
but it would be welcomed.
I don't know, man. There are things that I like about the sequel trilogy. I really, really loved Force Awakens. And then Last Jedi, as we all know, came in and fucked everything up. And then if we'll never know the full story, but it definitely seems to me that JJ was put in a terrible place to like wrap the series up. Disney was heavily involved with trying to get things wrapped up, and it sounds like he had his hands tied behind his back with certain things. Interviews with cast and crew seemed to indicate that there was no point where even they knew what was happening for sure while they were filming. Like, they filmed scenes that didn't end up going in that would have like made a whole different movie. They changed things as they were going. Like, it was all a cluster. So all that being said, I really like Kylo Ren, especially as when he was first introduced. The Knights of Ren were such a wasted opportunity. Rey really had potential. In our Force Awakens podcast, we bragged about how this is how you write a strong female character, and then they just like ran that character into the ground. So, and then Ben Solo is probably the best part of
Rise of Skywalker.
When he turns good, which I still argue that him staying bad and like having that flipped view of like bad is good and good is bad would have been way better. But him as Ben Solo was just awesome. Adam Driver is just amazing. So there are aspects that I would like, if this ends up happening, there are aspects that I would like to keep. But I don't think that with how burned most of the cast feels that we'll ever get them back to do anything. So we'll see what happens.
I agree.
Yeah. It's disappointing. Yeah, it's disappointing overall because I went into the sequel movies wanting to get back into Star Wars because I was like, I mean, the originals were fun growing up. Like I enjoyed them growing up, and then went back and watched the prequel ones, and they were coming out when I was younger as well. So obviously at 11 years old feels fun. Mm-hmm. And you realize it's not actually that great when you go back and you look at it.
Yeah.
So I like wanted to give it a chance, and it just wasn't fun. And I was disappointed that The Force Awakens felt like a remake of A New Hope. It seemed to follow almost the exact same plot line, just with different characters, and it felt a little bit unoriginal, and it was a little bit disappointing from that standpoint. And then obviously The Last Jedi was what it was, where an abomination of film. And then
true.
you have the last one. Yeah.
That's true.
Then you have the last one that, again, I wanted to like it because I liked Kylo Ren that much that I was like, maybe he can save this. And then you watch it and you're like, well, not really.
Yeah.
It's just,
So it's a lot of weight to put on one character. Man, it's very true. But Jesse's going to have to watch Star Wars because Star Wars Visions dropped today on the episodes, and the anime ultra episode we're going to record for this week is going to be Star Wars Visions.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a try. I haven't.
Amazing.
How many episodes were they?
9.
There's 9.
Okay,
and the longest one is like 20 minutes. They're very short.
Okay,
it's a quick watch. Yeah, it's a quick watch.
It's funny because when you said you'd finish it already, I was like, man, even if there was like, in my head, I was picturing like 20 something episodes, and I was like, even if they were like 20-minute episodes, I was like, that's a lot of time still. But
yeah,
9 episodes makes sense.
Yeah, several of them are like, one's like only 9 minutes, a couple of them are like 13, 15 minutes, and then I think the longest one I noticed was like 20 minutes. So they're short.
Interesting.
It's very frustrating. Well, to kind of talk about what I'm drinking tonight, I'm drinking a virgin apple cider. So it's apple cider with no alcohol.
Why?
What's the point?
Why would you say it that way?
Because it doesn't have any like fireball or anything in it. It's just a normal apple cider.
You could just say I'm drinking apple cider and we all would have known what you meant.
Not
But
necessarily.
then you say virgin apple cider and then I'm like, wait.
But saying virgin apple cider means there is no misconstrued.
No.
You're telling me you've never said I'm having a virgin Coke right now.
I've remember back in the days when I would go to like Applebee's with my family, that was a thing where they would be like, I would hear people be like, I want a virgin strawberry daiquiri. Like I remember that, but that was in like the late 90s.
Well, typically you would tack on virgin to a name of a drink with alcohol.
Yeah.
So, when you say virgin apple cider or virgin Coke, it's weird. It's weird.
You've never had a virgin chocolate milkshake before?
Cannot say that. No.
You should try sometime. Steak and Shake has a pretty good variety of virgin milkshakes. They don't have a spiked menu, so
I just refuse to call them by that. I've had milkshakes before. They brought all the boys to the yard.
They're very similar. They're very similar in nature.
Very similar. A virgin milkshake and a milkshake are super similar. You can barely tell a difference.
Some might say they might be the same thing, but one just offers more clarity in the situation than the other.
Oh,
I will have to order that next time. I would like a virgin water, please.
Those are very thirst quenching. I have to say, I had some of that earlier today. In fact, I drink a whole gallon of it every day. A whole gallon of virgin water.
It's impressive.
It is pretty impressive.
No vodka or anything.
Well, if you didn't know, this is the Nerdosphere. We're a podcast that discusses everything from the big screen to the small screen and anything in between, whether it be a book, a movie, a show, or a music. If you can nerd out about it, we're going to talk about it. And tonight, we're going to bring back a reoccurring type of show where we discuss what we are currently enjoying and what we think our audience would enjoy as well. Every so often, we like to check in, let you know what we are doing, what we're watching, what we're playing. And also, we just don't have anything else to talk about, so that's what we're doing tonight. So,
That's fair.
You want me to start us off? Do you want to start us off? Jesse, do you want to start us off? I figure we could do like 1, 2, 3 things, 4 things, whatever.
Yeah, I'm down.
That's fine. I'm actually surprisingly hyper, given the fact that I haven't had a virgin coffee in about 4 hours. So, it's really hard to make though, non-virgin ice, because alcohol doesn't really freeze. So spiked ice is hard. So virgin ice is really the only way to go.
It's true. It makes sense as to why those like flavored, like popsicle weird drinks that have alcohol in them don't actually ever freeze very well, and they're just kind of like frozen,
like a slushy stick.
Yeah, but what's weird about it is most of the time you find out it's like frozen slushy for a second, and then it like all separates, and then you get the slushy part of the non-alcoholic part, and then you have just straight liquor. Like it's you get through the icy part, and then that last drink is just like a straight shot of vodka or tequila, and you're like, well.
Now here's an idea. Does this exist? I know that Go-Gurts exist, but do pudding pops exist like that, where it's just like a tube of pudding, like a Go-Gurt, but with pudding instead? So a pudding cup in a tube that you just slurp into just like just all in one gulp. Do you think that is a thing?
I don't think it is, but it should be.
Pudding popsicles. Don't quit putting popsicles in your mouth. Could be the slogan.
What is happening right now? I'm going to start us off.
That's fair. Get us back on track, please.
So I'm going to, I feel like I need to wrap these together. I've got 3 things. I'm going to make one thing. Okay. And it's anime. Now, as the audience knows, I don't watch that much anime, but whenever we talk about what we are enjoying, I always bring up anime. But I don't watch that much.
That's weird. Yeah, you don't watch much of that.
I really don't. I really don't like you.
But
I don't like you.
Some of the anime that I've been enjoying recently, and it has either wrapped up. It's current. It's current anime. To Your Eternities. First season is over. Boom. That
I need to go back to that.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people might have forgot about it, but it's.
I did. We did the first episode.
Good.
Which was emotional. Are all the episodes as emotional as the first episode?
Not all of them, but it is an emotional roller coaster. The point behind the show is his growth. And as we saw in the first episode,
he went from a rock to a wolf. So that's a lot of growth already.
Yeah. There's a lot more of that.
Wow.
Yes. So
what's the equivalent of a rock to a wolf from a boy?
You just have to watch and find out. So 20 episodes in the first season. I've been watching it on Crunchyroll. I think that may be the only place you can watch it, but don't quote me on that. And at the end, they do tease that season 2 will be coming out next year. So they are for sure continuing that show. Finna Pirate Princess. It's the first anime that's come out from the team up of Adult Swim and Crunchyroll. They both are behind producing this show. It's made by the studio that did all of the Ghost in the Shell movies and shows, so the animation is just like, wow. It is on point. It's like movie quality all the way through. There's no spared expense on even the mundane scenes. But the story's awesome. Follows... It's kind of like anime Nathan Drake or Indiana Jones type story meets pirates and samurais. So it
Sounds pretty cool.
Fucking awesome. It's only like 6 or 7 episodes in. It's a late start this season for anime, but it may end up being one of the best because it's just, the quality's awesome. And then of course My Hero Academia. Corbin's all up in arms about it, but I really love that show. It still maintains its spot as my favorite anime.
Yeah, it's just a better manga.
I'm enjoying this season. Can't wait for the movie. It comes out on October 29th here in the US. And so yeah, that's
nice. Yeah, I mean, this is a good trio of stuff to watch. I haven't watched much of. I mean, I'm almost caught up on My Hero, but I haven't seen the other two that you were talking about, other than the first episode of To Your Eternity.
If you liked the first episode, I would definitely recommend continuing the show because it's worth it.
Yeah, I need to give it a try. I need to give the other one a try. You said, what was it? Finn Pirate Princess?
Finna. Yeah. Finna
okay.
Pirate Princess. Yeah.
Like you finna be a fire princess.
Yeah.
Did you just call her the Fire Princess?
Isn't that what you said?
No, the Pirate Princess.
Pirate.
You finna be a fire princess?
Pirate. Jesse, what give us something you've been enjoying lately? It could be a game, it can be a show, a movie that you saw, whatever.
So the most recent thing I watched, actually, well, there's 2 that I've been watching, at least on Netflix. I watched the first episode of Squid Game. Because I thought that was really intriguing when I saw it. I actually didn't know it was a TV show when I started it. I just seen a bunch of stuff online about it, and I was like, oh, this looks entertaining. So I thought it was going to be a movie, and I started, and I was like, oh, this is only episode 1. This is fantastic. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. Kind of an overdone plot point, I guess, to some extent, at least. I've only watched 1 episode, but you feel like it's done a lot where they take desperate people and they put them in weird situations to earn money. And then you have like twisted, corrupted game show type-esque things coming out of it. Feel like it's been done before, but it's still the first episode was very entertaining. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. And then I've really been enjoying, my girlfriend and I have been watching Clickbait on Netflix as well.
Is that a show?
It is. It's a limited series.
Who's in it?
I honestly don't know. I recognize all of them, but by name, I don't know most of them. Like I know Zoe Kansan, I think is in it. Betty Gabriel. There's a couple people like you'd recognize them, but they're not in anything big that I can remember off the top of my head. Like they're all recognizable faces, but it's just from like other TV shows. But very good. Premise behind it is within the first episode, you meet this brother and sister and the brother's family. And then later on that day, he shows up on the internet holding a sign that says, I abuse women. If this video gets to 5 million views, I will die. And it's like the story of like them trying to track down what's happening with him and the unraveling of the story that led him to the point that he's at. And it's really quite intriguing. The only bummer part about that one, and I have this problem right now because of lack of time with what I typically consume, is the episodes are pretty long. They're about 45-minute episodes. So it's quite a bit to take in, but still very, very fun. So on the TV show front, that's what I've been watching. And then like I said, I started Demon Slayer, which I talked to you guys a little bit about. I'm 4 or 5 episodes into that. Nice. Finally got past the opening CGI scene that had kind of turned me off a lot. And they still have some very weird reasons to use CGI. I feel like some of the times they do CGI in that, I'm like, you could have just done it the other way. It feels kind of lazy to me.
It's usually done in like the environment and like Did it service the story for you to do that?
And I guess it's, to be fair, it is part of the continent that, while visually could be very appealing, it's not adding much to the story overall. Like, it's not like they're giving you shitty dialogue with CGI. They're giving you meaningful dialogue and plot points with good animation. And then kind of the in-between filler has a little bit of weird CGI moments, which just feels a little bit forced and a little bit lazy to me. But again, I know nothing of the animation process, so I don't know if that actually is lazy or if that's harder to do and they just think it looks good. I don't honestly know.
It is cheaper.
That's what I thought.
It's cheaper, yeah. And I may be way off base, but I feel like the cost per episode of Demon Slayer is like astronomical compared to other anime. So I believe that those mundane in between where you see like him far off walking and it's clearly CGI for a minute is just them saving money for everything else, because every swing of the sword in a fight with the water, like that all looks like a painting. Like it's beautiful. So I think that's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's why, like, once I kind of got past the first episode where I was like, oh my God, they introduced CGI this quickly. Once I got past that, I was like, oh, like they're doing it in spots that don't ultimately affect the overall story. Like, it's not taking me out of the story anymore. So it's good. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to go back to it. I haven't had time to watch almost anything in the last 3 days since I got back from Dallas.
Nice. Before we get to one of Corbin's things that he's been watching, I too started Squid Game. I'm on episode 4. I think I'm in the middle of episode 4. I also went into it thinking it was just going to be a movie, and then I was like, wait, this is a series, and I am really loving it. And I find that like high quality Korean content is very good.
Yes,
because we got Train to Busan, we've got the
which I loved. Train to Busan.
The other zombie one.
It was Alive, wasn't it? Well, that's the American version of it, is Alive, but it's like the hashtag something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. That one was really good. I actually wrote a review on it because after I watched it, I was so inspired to write a review.
It is hashtag Alive.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Korean soap operas are good too. I used to watch those.
I can't speak to that. It's just, that's funny.
That just made me laugh. I was not expecting that to be where you went. I don't know where you were going to go, but wasn't expecting soap operas to be brought up.
But for real, the highbrow, like quality content that comes out every so often from Korea is very, very good. Like if it's Korean and it is getting a ton of like buzz, you should probably watch it because it's going to be good, is what I've learned.
100%.
And then I also thought Clickbait, I thought it was interesting, but then I was like, I really don't feel like watching a movie right now. I literally thought until right now that it was a movie. I didn't click on it enough to see that it was a series. I just saw the preview on Netflix and was like, that looks interesting, but I'm not going to watch a movie right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I say give some time because the first episode draws you in enough that you're like, I have no idea what's going on, and this is very entertaining.
Interesting.
And then it gives you feel like they're offering enough breadcrumbs through the first handful of episodes that I'm watching that you can start kind of piecing together what you think has happened. And that's a lot of fun for me when I'm watching murder mystery-esque style things.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, like where's the intrigue is me trying to puzzle it together as the show's going along. So they do a good job at that.
Sweet.
I'll have to watch both of these things. I have not watched either.
Yeah, and I don't think we actually explained, or maybe Jesse did, and I just zoned out. But Squid Game is like,
I was going to ask: is the Squidward show reality based or is it fiction based?
It's fiction.
Yeah.
So basically, think. The Battle Royale, is that the Japanese movie? So think along those lines, like these random people who are in financial distress are all like nabbed. They volunteer, but then they're nabbed and they're put into like this game that ends up being nefarious and deadly, and the winner gets a bunch of money. So that's the premise behind it, but it becomes more intricate and deep than that as you get past the first episode. So,
and I assume since it's a South Korean show, Squidward is subbed.
It is subbed. Yes, it is not poorly dubbed. It is subbed, which is preferable.
before we shift gears too far, because there's a movie I wanted to recommend, knowing that you've seen Squid Game now, that I think you guys would like. I believe it is Spanish, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't, and maybe you guys have seen it. Have you guys seen the movie The Platform?
I
on Netflix?
have. I
have
don't
not.
like it.
I saw it and it looked intriguing at the
Gross.
time. I never watched it, and I saw people talking about poop or something, and I was like, I don't really want to watch poop right now.
Yeah, it's very intense. Like if you're in the mood for like an intense movie that feels very weird, The Platform is actually very, very fun to watch. In regards to, you have to understand you're getting into some disturbing content.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yes.
overall, I thought it was pretty intriguing when I watched it. There are definitely some gross moments, but
Very
still good
gross.
overall. Yeah.
Nice.
Very gross. It's very stressful. I
It
remember.
is.
I remember feeling very stressed watching it. I was like, whew, I wish I hadn't had that virgin coffee. If I had a spiked
Is this just
coffee.
gonna be a thing all night? Good God, man.
No, but while you all were listening, while I should have been listening to when you guys were talking, I was thinking, is it possible that when a vampire is just drinking virgins, he's actually just trying to be in the vampiric version of AA? Because it's virgin blood, not spiked blood.
So funny. Okay.
I see what you did there. And I don't like it.
Why?
Just kidding.
All right,
just
Corbin,
a
give us
question.
something that you've been consuming lately and that you enjoy and you think everyone
Besides
else will.
virgins.
It was so awkwardly timed. Like, we're all kind of talking on top of each other, and then we get quiet, and Jesse just says, virgins.
Oh, I said besides virgins.
Well, I know,
because
but virgins itself came through, like, very strong because me and Corbin got quiet right as you
That's
said
fair.
virgins.
that's fair.
the virgin apple cider is not hitting me hard enough. So one of the shows I've actually been watching on a daily basis is on Discovery Plus, and it's called Evil Lives Here. And it's just every episode is a small murder documentary. It's something similar to like Dateline or True Crime, but it's unique, interesting murder cases. And I eat that shit up. And so that's like one of the background noises that I'll watch while I'm relaxing at night, enjoying a nice virgin chocolate oat milk, and I'll just watch that. So The Evil Lives Here is what I've been doing for that. I also am in trashy TV seasons right now. So because of Morgan, I watch shows like Big Brother and The Challenge now, which The Challenge, by the way, is actually really good because the intense like physical things that they do are like even cooler than what they do on Survivor, which that started tonight, which I'll watch tomorrow because it'll be uploaded on Paramount Plus tomorrow. So I've got Big Brother, which is ending soon. I've got The Challenge, which is in the middle, and Survivor just started. So I'm in full swing of TV trash. So those are things that I'm watching right now as well.
It's funny you talked about Survivor because I stumbled upon an account today on TikTok, and I guess his whole premise is like Survivor. Like he did a 2-part introduction of the contestants and predicted like how they would fare based on their video, like their introductory videos that they show in the first episode. Very, very strange.
I haven't watched. I grew up watching Survivor over at my grandparents' house once a week when we'd go over there, because we had like a tradition, go over there once a week on Thursdays, and we'd watch Survivor or whatnot. And I haven't seen. I watched the first 14 seasons, I think, over there, and then I haven't seen an introduction video for Survivor, and I can't tell you how long. Like I've watched a lot of Survivor recently. I kind of went on one of those binges where I didn't want to watch actual meaningful TV, so I was like, oh, I'll just watch Survivor. It's on in the background. That's fine. Did a lot of that, and I don't recall ever seeing an introduction video or anything like that. But I always remember them being so awkward.
Yeah,
like super weird.
Like
Yes.
yeah. During the pandemic, that's what I did. I caught up on all of Survivor, which placed me in the perfect spot to truly appreciate last season, which was like a ton of fun, where they brought back every contestant was a previous winner, and the prize money was $2 million, which is like, in my opinion, was the best concept, because any time they bring back a winner, they
Vote it
always
off.
want to vote them off because they already won.
Dude,
So they take that element immediately away.
did you watch the season where it was Boston Rob's team versus Richard's team? Not Richard.
Randall.
No, it's not Randall either. Is it Richard? It's the stocky dude with it. Like,
It's Randall. He has the hat. He has the beard.
Yeah, is it Randall? I don't think
It's
it's Randall.
It's Randall.
But anyways, the two of them. Did you see that season?
I did. I've
Dude,
seen them all.
Watching Boston Rob manipulate his way to winning that season was mind blowing, because everyone knew what he was doing and they still didn't vote him off.
It was fucking funny as shit.
Yeah, you like watch him pick apart this group of like young teens or like young 20-year-old somethings that are just like worshiping the ground he walks on, and he's like playing all of them one at a time, and they all know it, and they don't know what to do about it. They're like, I guess we'll just get voted off. That's fine, because we're too scared to vote this guy off for God knows what reason.
Decimal boy.
And they were like, we're gonna I want to be the one. It goes with him to the final. I want to be the one who goes with him. No, I want to be. And they just eat each other alive. But honestly,
he's part of the perfect storm that made me a Boston Red Sox fan back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
And by the way, it's Russell Hansen.
Oh no, it's Randall. It's Randall.
But yeah, okay, his Boston Red Sox hat was iconic. It was.
I don't know what square you are, but I'm looking at your screen right now.
You're looking the other way. You should be looking. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That way.
That's me.
Anyways, we kind of interrupted you.
Yeah.
We're watching the challenge and Survivor and all that good stuff. And then Evil lives here.
As far as scripted content, I've convinced Morgan to watch Demon Slayer, and she's really enjoying it.
Nice.
I also realized I hadn't actually finished the first season. So I personally am finishing that while I'm going to the gym. Also, while I'm at the gym, I'm watching Twister. Twister is such a great time. I love the movie Twister.
Dude, that's classic.
No, the game.
Well, you could be watching YouTube videos of people playing the game. I don't know. If that's the kind of content you're into.
There's just Twister Tuesdays at Planet Fitness. You can have a slice. We can have a slice of pizza, and then you go play Twister with your fellow neighbors. And I was just watching on the elliptical while I play with my belly button.
Twister is fantastic, though. My kids love Twister, which is a little weird because they're little.
It's so good. I was thinking about how when I was younger, there were very few movies that viscerally scarred me for decades of my life. And Twister was one where I was petrified of thunderstorms because of tornadoes. And there's also something else that made me think about how, first and foremost, when it comes to like snow days, the nostalgia of snow days, we've seen it on TV, we've seen it on movies, and we've lived it. We all have that memory of waking up really early on a gray, chilly day, and we're watching the news. We're hoping for our school to be listed, and we see it, and we're like, fuck yeah. And we spend the entire day playing. And how weird it is that because we consume that not only in our real lives, but also in the media on our peripheries, it seems like that's a common memory point. But there are thousands of Americans who live on either coast who aren't in the Midwest, who have no idea what that feeling is like. And that's so interesting for me to think about, that they don't know what that's like to wake up on a morning, experience a snow day. And the fear that I feel from Twister is the same way. If you live in dry,
I wondered where that was going.
Yeah. No. Yeah, no.
Like if you don't live in Tornado Alley, you have no fear.
Or in anywhere else in the globe, because tornadoes are a unique American phenomenon.
Yeah, that too. If you live in Britain, you're like, oh, fucking care what's a tornado.
Yeah, it is really weird. It is weird to think about that. Oh yeah, just go like, I mean, I guess California is a whole nother batch of worms that you have to open up where you're dealing with forest fires and all of that fun stuff.
Earthquakes.
Yeah, earthquakes. But I mean, seriously, like go to Colorado and you don't deal with tornadoes. They're just not a thing. Like if you go up into the mountains, it's like they don't exist. You're like blissfully ignorant of tornadoes.
But also, could you imagine being the first of like the pilgrims to experience a tornado for the first time? And like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's raining, just like over in Britain, and then you're like sucked out of your house and thrown across a field. Like,
God's judgment be upon thee.
Witches, I say.
That's probably what they thought.
But
It's
also,
Betty
like,
again. We must burn her.
in the movie Twister, there's a few things I beefed with when I was watching it on the elliptical. And the biggest thing is why would the dad even try to hold the door shut? Because the mom and daughter were completely fine.
For the same reason that the daughter holds a oddly specific vendetta against tornadoes, as if they were a entity, a sentient entity, if you will.
But still,
for that very reason.
I'm like, the dad, he probably really wanted out of that situation. Probably wasn't in a happy marriage. He was like, the bank's about to take this. The bank's about to take the home. I've kept it a secret this whole time. I gotta get out of here. And
he literally got out of there.
Stay there. Yeah. The plot twist, Twister 2, he actually is alive. He's been living a new life.
He is the Twister. He was the Twister the whole time. Greatest anime betrayals. He was the dad the whole time.
He's a metahuman.
Fantastic. I haven't seen that movie in a while, but I always watch it. They play it on reruns at hotels all the time. So like I remember seeing that. I can't tell you how many times over the years that I traveled with T-Turtle, where it felt like every night it was on. And I always was intrigued by it. No matter how many times I saw Twister.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I'll just have this on in the background. It's kind of that like secret level of spooky still, where you're still kind of a little bit scared of tornadoes.
You're watching scientists who are in it for the passion.
Yeah.
Versus scientists who are in it for the money. Grubby pieces of shit.
He doesn't have instincts. He's just in it for the money.
I will say this. So I have to, since we've been talking about weather, St. Louis has one of the best weatherman stories that I've ever had in my entire life. And because I've always thought that weatherman is like an overglorified, overpaid job. And this is coming from somebody that has no idea what they're actually getting paid. But the idea that like you can stand up on stage and be like, it's gonna 60% chance to rain today. And then I get paid for having a 60% chance of being right. Like it seems weird.
You've fallen into the common trap that TikTok has corrected for our society.
Well,
the percentile is not actually the chance of rain; it is actually the coverage of rain. So when you look at your weather report and you see 60%, that's 60% of the area as a whole will experience rain at some point.
I will say though, you can almost make the argument that maybe weathermen don't even know that.
That's what I'm saying. So it just all seems like a wash to me. And then my instincts were confirmed when I was driving in a car around Christmas one year. I think I was probably 18 or 19 at the time, driving in a car, driving downtown town, and I'm listening to the weather, and the weatherman is saying 0% chance of snow in the St. Louis area today. And I'm literally watching it snow through my windshield. And I was like, cool. We are paying you to talk about the weather and you can't open your eyes. That's fun. So that was one of the best stories that I'd had and then I also experienced, it was like 60 degrees, raining, then snow, and then back to 60 degrees in a day before. And you're like, oh yeah, cool. That's Missouri weather for you. Have fun.
Yes. Missouri has strange weather.
Anyways, strange. We've branched off a little bit.
We have
just a little bit. I also, when I was growing up, I for whatever reason thought the premise of Dorothy was to somehow stop tornadoes, not give people an extra 12 minutes of escape time. Like the whole point of Dorothy is to like learn more about tornadoes than we ever have, so that so that we would have a better warning system instead of giving people 3 minutes to prep and leave, we would give them 15 minutes. It was
Yes.
like the whole point of the movie. But when I was younger, I thought for whatever reason, the premise of Dorothy was for whatever reason to go into the funnel and then somehow like reverse the tornado and make it go away.
Nice. I'll be honest, I didn't follow you for a second because as soon as you said Dorothy, I actually thought about Wizard of Oz.
That's where I went immediately
And
too.
I was like, what? Are we what? And then I was like, oh yeah, Dorothy is the machine. Okay.
It's funny. I tracked that for a while. I was like, okay, where is he attaching Dorothy to stopping tornadoes in the Wizard of Oz?
Clayton and Tim are like the Charlie Day gif with conspiracy theories, and I'm very clearly like just continuing my train of thought before you guys went off on your tangent.
Yes.
That was great. All right, so then we touched on this earlier. What are you guys playing right now? That's like one subject I haven't talked with you guys a whole lot about is the video game thing, other than knowing that you guys have streamed some stuff and all of that, like Red Dead. But what are you guys playing currently?
So currently, I actually just made it all the way through the early access story for Baldur's Gate 3. It was like 35, 40 hours. That kind of counts like me like leaving it on and going to do stuff though. So probably like 30 hours of content from the early access. Man, that game is going to be so good. Like if you
explain to me how so.
Well, first of all, it's an RPG, which I love RPGs. But second of all, it's like Baldur's Gate 2 was heavily based on D&D version 3. This is based on D&D version 5, which Corbin and I have recently started diving into, and Jesse, of course, is a big fan of D&D as well.
Yeah.
But so you add the rich depth of storytelling that you're used to with the other Baldur's Gate games and any RPG really that's worth its salt. But then you throw in D&D aspects. So when you do checks in the game, you actually like click to roll the dice like you would in D&D. So like if I go to lockpick a door, for instance, I roll for it. It's not just like a computer randomized thing and you're like, well, how come this isn't working? Or, you know, the game screwed me again. Like you actually get to see your dice roll. You can add, just like in D&D, you can add like guidance to add a little bonus or, you know, other things like that. But just story-wise and freedom-wise, even in just a short, like, this is basically the tutorial of what will be the main game, and I spent 40 hours in it, and it's just phenomenal.
Have you played the Divinity series?
I have not. I actually bought them both, but I didn't start them.
If you like Baldur's Gate, like while you're killing time for Baldur's Gate, definitely dive into Divinity because it's about the exact same thing, just a different storyline. And the classes are fantastic. Everything feels very, very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of fun. Now, I don't know if I'd have to remember what the story was for the first Divinity game to remember if it's worth playing through that for the story. But if you started with the second one, I think you'd be fine. And it's very updated and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's such a fun game.
I downloaded the second one because it was suggested to me on Steam, and I kind of did some research on reviews, and it seemed like it got pretty good reviews. So I downloaded it, and the opening sequence is like, did you play the first one? And if you did, you can import like your save, or you like do this whole like ask questions like, well, how would you handle this? And then it like builds that backstory for you. And I was like, well, do I really want to do this? Because it reminded me of like booting up Mass Effect 2 and like the thought of, you know, can you want to import your save or answer these questions? And I was like, well, why wouldn't I just go back and play? So, and the first one was on sale, so I bought the first one, but then I never went back. So
yeah. I think the issue I have with telling you to go back and play the first one is you're going to be sinking a lot of hours into it, which kind of disheartens me from doing that sometimes when I have to go back and put 40 hours into a game that's not as up to date or as cool as the current one just to understand the story. That's why I was telling you could probably avoid it. But you'd have fun with either one. It's not like it aged poorly or anything like that, but you are going backwards.
Yeah.
But I guess if you haven't played 2 yet, see, I started playing 2, and then my friend was like, "Oh, you haven't played 2, go back to 1, or you haven't played 1, go back." And 2 had just came out, and I was like, "Perfect, I'll powered through it." And then him and I played 2 for a little bit together.
Nice.
So it felt good doing that, but now I think 1's been pretty far removed from.
I think it came out in 2015 or something. Like it's aged now, so yeah, maybe I'll just play the second one. Like I said, I nabbed the first one just because it was on sale at the time, but yeah. So yeah, I went through that. We went on a Red Dead kick for a while. I don't know. I'm kind of in the market for a game. I went through and played and beat God of War. I went through and beat something else.
Spider-Man.
Oh, Spider-Man. Yeah, both. I went through both Spider-Mans. I ended up really enjoying it. I had to force myself to go through. I mean, Spider-Man ended up being phenomenal, but the mediocrity of the initial story just wasn't enough for me initially. But once I powered through like that bit, like halfway through to the end, is just phenomenal and made it worth it. And then Miles is very, very good. And then I restarted Horizon Zero Dawn because I was going on this kick of like trying to play all the exclusives before the sequels came out in the PS5. But
Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the most unique games you can play, I think. I think its battle mechanics is fucking awesome. Did you just boot me?
No, my webcam has been having a really hard time with focusing today, where any little movement I have puts me out of focus and then back in, and it had stayed out of focus. So if you put your hand in front of it, it refocuses your camera for you.
Oh, you're like, that's a dumb thing to say. And then
I was like forehead slapping you. I was like, shut up.
I'm really excited. So I say I'm kind of in the market for a game, but I'm really excited for The Forest 2 to come out. I want to play that with the boys. And Jesse, you should join us playing that.
I should. I've been looking for a game like that to play recently. I just downloaded Rust like 2 days ago.
I've always wanted to kind of get into Rust. I enjoy Rust content.
Yeah,
and
it
then,
seems fun.
New World has me really intrigued. Our mutual friend Seth played the betas, and he really tried hard to get me to play, but it just didn't line up with my schedule. But it's only $40. It's an online RPG, MMORPG, and it really looks fun. Content creators were all about it. So I don't know, we'll see. You seemed like you were excited about that one.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that one. I don't know if I will get into it right away. I am playing through some other stuff, but it looked intriguing enough to, especially for $40. Like that's the big pull for me. If it was $60, I'd be like, I'll wait, whatever. But for $40, I think I could get behind that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Corbin, what have you been playing? Anything?
I've been dabbling on Destiny. Destiny is something that when there's new content, I'll dip my toe into orbit, see what kind of new armor pieces there are. I think 2 weeks ago was Iron Banner, so I was playing pretty hard through all of that to finish everything. And man, I gotta tell you that Iron Banner is one of those things where I feel like it needs more, because once you grind out, there's like the weekly bounties, but there's always like the big bounty that like sometimes it might take you to the second Iron Banner to finish. It's very easy to finish that in the first Iron Banner. And then you're like, well, I've done all that until the next season.
I thought this would make you laugh, because I was actually talking to a coworker about Destiny today. And his opening comment for us to start talking about it was that feeling when you start questioning if you're a masochist because you still play Destiny PvP occasionally. And I was like, I feel it. I feel it.
Yeah. I have a weird thing with Destiny because the lore is fucking awesome. I would love a Destiny like anime.
Gameplay is fantastic.
It's the smoothest FPS you'll ever play. There's something about it that keeps me coming back. But I find the community to be almost as toxic as the Star Wars community, where like they're always bitching about it. But then I play it, and then I'm like, well, there is always something to bitch about. So
I think part of it was the advertisement that Bungie did for it back when it was coming out, where they're like, this is going to be our next forever game. Like, we're going to just make this game fantastic over the next decade. And you feel like they released Destiny, and then they were like, we fucked up in a lot of areas. We're dropping Destiny and we're going with Destiny 2. And you're like, wait, what happened? You just told me for like 2 years that this was going to be your like baby that you're going to like nurture into a full adult that's going to be fantastic with like ever growing content. And then you realize you fucked up so bad that you dropped it like I don't want to say that, but you dropped it, and then you moved onto Destiny 2, which is now evolving kind of what the style that they were talking about. But that left me a little bit soured, where I was like, oh, you couldn't just go back and fix Destiny. Like, just fix that, please.
A little bit of trivia there. They actually kind of had to. The engine that they used to build Destiny, it took way too long to update and make changes. So when they would get feedback from the community and want to implement changes, it would be like 4, 5, 6 months before they could make those changes. And then by the time you made those changes, there's actually more changes or different changes that we need to make. So it was like this terrible cycle that just kept going. So they eventually just had to drop it to make Destiny 2 so they could update it a little bit quicker. So
that makes sense. I mean, and it checks out. Like, I'm fine with that. I think it was kind of the same bug that hit the No Man's Sky community. Now, to be fair with the No Man's Sky community, I don't think that was them false advertising. I think it was the general community taking the information that they were giving and running with it to the point where the expectations could never meet the product. I think that was like the community overhyping a game that the game technically never promised. The game was like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We think this will be fun. And they're like, you're going to have an infinite world where we get to do this and we get to create whatever we want. And the planets are all going to be different. And he's like, that's not what I said. But they just blew it up to something that was so far and beyond ever hitting the expectations properly. I feel like that was, and again, I'm obviously guilty of that with Destiny, where I loved Destiny 2 Destiny when it came out. And then I was like, oh, you're dropping it already. And I had no idea that it was the engine that couldn't keep up with it. Didn't know that.
No Man's Sky is pretty fun now, though. I gotta say. And the one thing, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm really eager to utilize the VR component, because that seems like a dream come true. Now, one game I really want to play that just came out is Kenna, the Bridge to Spirits, because it looks like a Pixar movie. Yeah, like it looks gorgeous. It's like Pixar meets Studio Ghibli. Like, it looks so fucking cute and fun.
I remember
I haven't played it yet, but
I remember seeing that during E3, and I was like, oh, this looks fantastic. Like, this looks like something I could get behind.
Yeah, and it's an indie game, so I would expect the price is probably $20 to $30.
That's what I'd guess too. Which actually is a perfect segue into that's what I've been consuming a lot of recently. I've been playing a lot of indie games. I've been consuming a lot of like quicker content. I've been doing a lot of like rogue, I think it's roguelite style games is what they're called. Dead Cells, for example, is phenomenal.
Dead Cells is fun.
And then there's another one that I really enjoy that's a little bit outside of the box. It's called Skull, the Hero Slayer, where you're actually playing as like the average everyday Skull Knight minion from any RPG that just gets slaughtered by a hero without like taking the time to realize, hey, this Skull Knight might have a family. Like, that's kind of the premise that they went with it. So you're playing as this Skull Knight that is now going, and the enemies are all the heroes that have like wiped out his villages and stuff like that. So he's like getting revenge against the heroes, and it's phenomenal. It's so much fun.
Sounds great.
I'll have to look into that.
That one's a good time. It's a lot of fun. But the one that I'm most excited about, I downloaded it and have not started it yet. It's been one of my favorite series of all time, which is kind of shocking because when I look at other games that I like, it's weird that this falls in there. But the Life is Strange series by Square Enix is absolutely phenomenal. It has a couple of the handful of moments in games that I was left completely shocked. where something would happen in the game and I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? And anybody that doesn't know what Life is Strange is it's a game that kind of originated from the Telltale series, like The Walking Dead, that type of thing, where you're playing a character that's kind of like a point and click, but it's the butterfly effect that Mass Effect had, where anything you do within the game affects you later on, to the point where it like kills off characters. So you have these like branching storylines that kind of like Chrono Trigger did way back in the day. And Life is Strange, the first one, and then Life is Strange Before the Storm, both fantastic. And then Life is Strange 2 came out, and the story is a little bit lackluster. Didn't care about the characters as much. But Life is Strange True Colors dropped 2 days ago, and I'm super stoked about it. And it's actually what I'm going to be streaming over the next couple of days. I'm like so excited.
Nice. Yeah, those games are very beloved. People love them. I started the first one, and I watched. It was either PewDiePie or Jacksepticeye, one of those guys. I watched one of them play through it. So yeah, they're good games.
It's not as fun. Like if you've watched somebody play through it, it's not as fun going back to play through them. Because I did that with one of that's what got me to stop playing the Walking Dead version of these games, was I saw somebody finish that storyline and I was like, I don't really care to go back and finish it. But then I got into, I think it was The Wolf Among Us, I think is what it's called, which is based off the Fable comics, which is also fantastic. And they do it really well, where it's like modern day fairy tale-esque people, and there's a murder mystery going on there, which is a lot of fun. And then Life is Strange, I found that through playing The Wolf Among Us.
Nice.
Clayton, it's really important that I say this before we end this show.
Yes.
But I feel like it's the perfect thing since we're talking about what we're watching.
Yeah.
But remember Jacob Ingle?
I do.
He messaged me today, actually right before we started recording, and it was a picture of Tom Wellington's Clark Kent on his TV screen, and he said, "Watching through Smallville again, couldn't be happier." And then he said,
what?
He said that it's the best superhero show ever to air on the CW. And I said, while that semantically could possibly be accurate,
That's a really low bar. That's a really low bar.
He loves that show.
I met Tom Wellington at a convention. I met him and Supergirl. Is that the one that they made? Was it Supergirl?
Yeah.
I don't remember. There's another CW one. I met her too.
Nice.
Yeah.
They
were fine.
But I was like, how interesting is that? We were talking about things we're watching, and old friend of the show is watching Smallville.
Wow.
And he loves it. It's one of his favorite shows.
And again, don't get me wrong, I will never be that person. I joke around a lot about it. I'll never be that person that's going to actually shame somebody for watching something because everyone likes something different.
You're too kind. We shame everyone here.
Yes.
But
everyone's entitled to the opinion, even if it's a dumbass opinion.
Well, what made me laugh is when you were ramping up to the comment about it being the best superhero TV show, I was like, he's going to say ever, and I'm going to be pissed off because that's wrong. And then you're like on the CW, and I was like, well, I can't argue that because they're all pretty low quality content on the CW. Like they're just meh to me.
Man, Flash season 1, 2, 3?
Kind of 3. We're good.
I would argue that Green Arrow, the first season of Green Arrow, is decent. Like it was
out of here. The first season of Arrow?
Maybe it wasn't that one. I haven't seen it completely. I jumped in on one of my roommates watching it one time. I thought it was the first season, but it might not have been.
You failed this city.
My favorite thing was when Roy became Arsenal, and then he flipped every time he was on screen.
Remember there was an episode where he gets knocked into a bunch of stuff and they all just leave and we never see him again. He gets like knocked out and all the other characters like finish the fight and they have a conversation and they all leave and Boy's still on the ground knocked out. They left him.
They just left him. And then I'll never forget the two things I always would make fun of on Arrow is how Arsenal would flip every time he was on screen. And then there was this one moment at the end of an episode where Oliver Queen aims his fucking bow. He's in the middle of a street with no buildings around, and he shoots it into the sky and zips away off camera. But they've already established the environment. There's nothing around. And he just,
That's awesome.
like Nintendo 64 Spider-Man away.
Yes.
So this is a bigger topic than we can get in here in the last couple of minutes. But do you guys have a favorite superhero show? Because like, and I asked that as like a broad sweeping question. Because like I was going to say that, but then I was also thinking I would technically list The Boys as the same, and The Boys would be up there with Daredevil for me.
The Boys might be better than Daredevil.
Batman the animated series.
Ooh, yeah. See, like that, and then you bring it animated, and then you get it talking about Batman Beyond is like another one that I absolutely loved, where it's just such like a wide sweeping. I just kind of like wanted your guys' general opinions, because my first instinct was Daredevil, and then I was like, well, then I remembered The Boys, and then I was like, oh, the animated series, and then I thought even The Punisher. I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Punisher, the first one more than the second, but I thought they were
a lot of good superhero content out there.
Yeah, I was just wondering. It just thinking about that when I was like,
Powerpuff Girls.
Loki is what popped into my mind first.
Me too.
But I think it's unfortunate, but Daredevil's like not on my mind anymore, and that sucks because that probably is the right answer.
Yeah, because season 3 of Daredevil was absolutely phenomenal. It was so good. It was like as I was watching the first 2 seasons, you're like getting hyped season after season. And my expectations for season 3 were like sky high, and it still hit all of them, that I was like, this is fantastic content right now.
Yeah. Can't wait to see him in Spider-Man.
Yeah, let's hope.
So set up for disappointment with this movie, right? But I don't care.
Which... No, we can't talk. That's too spoilery. Yeah. The end credits for Venom has been leaked online.
Yep. Has it really?
Interesting.
We know.
I haven't watched. I've had it described. It's interesting though.
And there's a picture of, Tom, the other Tom.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah, Tom Hardy. There's a picture of him that was promptly removed from social media, where he's wearing a post-production hat
of Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. So only given to people who work on the movie. So
yeah. So
the internet was like, enhance, look at this, and then they deleted it because the internet was like, enhance.
They were utilizing all the fake software in those CSI shows where they're like, take that pixelated image and make it a 4K image.
And then they were like, what is this? And Tom Hardy said, what do you mean? It's gone forever.
It's gone forever.
I don't know what you mean.
Anyways, I know I opened like a can of worms right there at the end when we were getting close to wrapping up the video, but I just had to know since we got talking about superhero.
Oh, yeah. Remember that MTV Spider-Man show where Neil Patrick Harris was Spider-Man?
That was really good for a hot second.
It was. But here's the thing, and here is it's I think what we struggle with the first couple of seasons of The Flash is that MTV Spider-Man show actually really good for a hot second? Or is it really good because we had no expectations back then, so it was good? So if we went back and watched it now, not only does it not age well, but maybe actually it's not good at all.
Well, I imagine the CGI probably doesn't age well.
No.
So that's what I would think.
There's that, which I imagine would impact the consumption quite a bit.
I don't know. I still get immense enjoyment out of watching Beast Wars.
I know you do, and I cannot, unfortunately. But we're not going to get into that right now because we're way over our normal amount of time. So that does it for this week's The Nerdosphere. We hope you enjoyed going down our list of things that we are currently enjoying. We like to talk about what we're doing, and I'm sure there was more we could have talked about, but, we gave you some nuggets, so run with it. Let us know what you guys are watching. If you really like what we do and you're on Apple device, scroll down and give us a 5-star rating. And if you are so kind, leave us a written review. If you're not on an Apple device, that's okay. You can help us by sharing with family and friends, because what makes content better than sharing with those we love? If you really love what we do, go to patreon.com/thenerdosphere, where you can join the Nerdosphere family and get cool patron exclusive perks like ad-free podcasts, access to our trivia, and a Discord's coming, guys. Discord's coming. So yeah. But until next time, we will see you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See ya.